Right now we're in a beautiful woodlands that surround Hamilton Marsh, here just about 5 minutes away from Qualicum Beach. The woodland area that is here around the marsh is about 360 hectares, and the marsh itself is about 36 hectares. The woodlands around it protects it from wind, it gives creatures habitat to be able to go in and out of the marsh, using it for nesting, for breeding, for food gathering. Connectivity, also known as wildlife corridors, are extremely important so you don't get what's called a genetic sink, where there's just a small pool of animals breeding and inbreeding and interbreeding and not having anywhere to out-migrate, not having fresh genetic material coming in with new creatures that arrive. Places like butter tubs are pretty much landlocked. Well, Hamilton Marsh, the area we're in right now, used to be called Little Hamilton Marsh. This is the remnant of a much larger marsh. In BC, about 71% of the wetlands have already disappeared or been destroyed, damaged beyond use for wildlife. Communities are starting to realize, whoa, there are a lot of ecological benefits that come from the natural filtration and the water storage that marshes provide at no charge. They retain rainwater and they slowly let it out when there's a flood. During droughts, it's a source of water still for all kinds of wildlife. The water remains in the soil for a long time in a marsh, which makes it very valuable for people if they're depending on groundwater in the local area, or to have cleaner rivers and streams. And with all of the forest around it, it's a huge carbon sink. Many people are very concerned about the condition of our planet environmentally. Here's an opportunity to protect an area that is important for all of us, for the community, for wildlife, and for the future.
We have a value of connecting children with the region that they live in and the land that we live on. Through our eco-studies, we have connected with Carrie Pesey and the team from Hamilton Marsh, and we are plugging our kids into this local ecosystem and teaching them the importance of it, and it's actually grown into something bigger than expected because the kids are so eager to dig in and be ambassadors for this area. We learn through our senses what things sound like, what things feel like, what things smell like. And when we are in the marsh, you can hear the different bird species, you can pick the berries, you can experience what this is like, rather than just being in a desk, in a class, full of distractions, and having to remember it to regurgitate it for a test.
Today at Hamilton Marsh, I was looking for bugs and fish, and I found a newt, and it was like this big. It was just so exciting. I would like to come here over and over and over and over and over again.
It was fun, and I like to collect the berries and eat them. There was back swimmers, dragonfly larvae, regular mosquito larvae. My friend found a newt, and my other friend found a big tadpole.
My name is Hans Borger. I'm a retired biologist, and I've been coming to this marsh now for about 15 years. My background is in aquatic entomology, and hence I'm drawn to the very high number of species of insects that are found in Hamilton Marsh. Probably of all the marshes, all the wetlands here on the east coast of Vancouver Island, this has more aquatic insects in it than any other one I've ever looked at. Wherever I find an opportunity, I try and bring out school children to local areas. And as you saw with these children, they were already keyed up. They actually taught me a few things. We know that every year there's another group of people that learn about the marsh, and once they learn about the marsh, they come back. As you can see, the trail is extremely well used. Having the boardwalk here makes it kind of nice to get out onto the marsh. Island Timberlands, the owners, have been very good in allowing public access to this area. I hope they will continue to do so. If you find a dozen different species, you know that the marsh is pretty well unpolluted. And Hamilton Marsh up to now is in an excellent condition. And I like to see, hopefully, that it's kept that way.
I think it's really important for the general public to get an idea that A, it exists, and B, the benefits. This is the largest body of water in the French Creek watershed. We are getting a lot drier on Vancouver Island, so for water alone, it's a good reason to preserve it. Beyond the marsh itself, there are lots and lots of wet spots, and they all contribute to the biodiversity and the size of Hamilton Marsh. So that's why we put a lot of importance on saving the whole 360 hectares, not just 36 hectares and a buffer. The values of Hamilton Marsh cannot be overestimated. A lot of research has gone in recently to the importance of green and nature for psychological health, for physical healing. There's no end of benefits that this kind of forested, beautiful area will do for any human being, let alone the wildlife that depends on it. For me, it's really hard to look up the mountains and see all the habitat that's gone. The thought that that's just going to extend down and human habitat is going to take priority over all, that is what devastates me. And that is where we can't allow that as a society. It will be the end of us. We're running low on old growth forest, and I don't know if we're ever going to have very much left, certainly within these areas. Imagine 20 years from now how much bigger and better this place will be and how much more there'll be to explore for children. I mean, that's huge. I just think it's smart business to preserve. That's what I think. Preserve it. It can only look good on everyone.